So appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.
So what's your name?
My name is Yajas.
Yadis?
Yajas, yeah.
Yajas.
There you go.
How do you spell that?
Yajas.
Yajas. Okay. I'm Jeff.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Good to meet you. So my question is kind of a universal question. It's what do you think happens after we die? And then more specifically, it's like whatever you believe about that. Like, how did you get to your belief? You know.
After we die,
So-
I believe, based on an aggregation of our karma, our soul leaves to enter another vessel, another body.
Okay.
Provided you're at the end of your, you are close to your consciousness is, you're liberated or you're enlightened, in which case your soul leaves and becomes one with God.
Oh. So if you're not near the end of the cycle, then you go into another body.
Yes, so the whole idea is that every living creature, including trees and plants and animals and anything that has life, what gives it life, that energy is the soul, right?
Yeah.
And qualitatively, that energy is the same as God. So the analogy that is given is think of an ocean and a glass of water.
Yeah.
So they're both water, but one is just an ocean and one is just in a little glass.
Yeah.
And the soul is always craving to go back to that ocean. That's what it wants. That's where it achieves ultimate peace.
Uh-huh.
And to do that, you need to break free from the cycle of rebirths, because you keep you're stuck in this loop, and there are different dimensions and planets, and some people are closer, like humans would be closer to getting freedom from the cycle of rebirth than, say, a dog.
Oh, okay.
Okay, maybe there's a dog. So spiritually, humans are very much more advanced. Their consciousness levels are very high. But it's not that at the end, it can be like that you were a dick human and then you get pushed back now, so you become
Okay,
a
so you
dog.
go backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you essentially, but in the end, you're always moving forward. So eventually, you will break
Yeah.
free.
So it could be any number of cycles
Could be,
before,
yeah.
and then the ultimate is just this oneness with
God.
with God.
Yep, with the universe.
Okay. And I take it that's a Hindu belief, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is. That's,
And-
I would say that's an Eastern Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Eastern religions.
Yeah.
All have similar, different variations of the same overlying concept.
Yeah. And then because I also, like, I've talked with other Hindu before, and so like there's different gods.
Yeah, no, there's not actually different gods. There's only one God.
Yeah.
God is infinite, right? So God is not limited to anything essentially. He is beyond your conception. He or it, you don't even know. It is beyond your conception.
Yeah.
But God doesn't want to be abstract, like this weird concept that you cannot wrap your head around. So He can be, to be close to you, He can be anything. He can be your friend. So they say if God is your friend, like He comes down to earth as a friend, He's the best friend you can ever have. Like He understands your inside jokes, everything. He's awesome. He can be your teacher, He can be your lover, He can be your pet, He can be whatever He wants.
Yeah.
It's like He decides. So it's Leela is the word they say. It's like it's a sort of a play that's going on.
Okay.
And sometimes God decides to play like different roles. So He's like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? This time I'm going to go play the role of a king.
Okay.
And he comes down and he's a king. And yeah, there are different avatars,
So
different
so you
manifestations.
grew up in Hinduism.
Yes.
Was there ever a time you did not believe this?
I mean, I never. Hinduism is very unlike Abrahamic faiths like Islam and Christianity, Judaism, which is like it's a sort of there's this very clear, defined structure to it. Like, oh, this is this, you do this is what happened.
According to the Abrahamic faith?
Yeah. Because I had a lot of Muslim friends growing up, and like there's like, oh, you do this, these are the things, this is what you do, this is what you do not do, and Hinduism is it's more of it's a philosophy more than like.
Well, I think it was
so there is nothing wrong or right. There are recommendations.
Yeah.
There is like, so it's like a lot of people here think that, oh, you're Hindu, so you don't eat meat. I do not eat meat, but it's not It's not mandated that you do not eat meat. It's recommended that you do not eat meat. But if you do, depending on your profession, you might need to. Like if you're, for example, I don't know, if you're a warrior and you need to fight, you need a lot of protein, and maybe that's the only source, then sure. But if it is, the whole point is life is precious because it's made of the energy that's gone, right?
So if you don't need to, you should.
Yeah, you should not. You should not cause pain or suffering unless it's absolutely required. So that's why it is recommended, and it also raises. You're trying to get free from the cycle of evils, right? So you're trying to break free from material bounds, and so to do that, you need to. There are recommendations. Yoga, essentially, yoga it means unity. So what people in the West usually think yoga is a physical thing, that's just one kind of yoga. That is Hatha yoga, which is preparing your body. There is Karma yoga, which is the yoga of actions. There is Gyan yoga, which is the yoga of knowledge. And you're trying to expand your consciousness so you can break free from that.
Do you do yoga then?
I do. I meditate a little bit, but I do not. I'm too lazy.
So it's like hard work?
It's not hard work.
It's like exercise.
It's exercise. It's like, why don't I should be doing it in the gym a lot more often. Really put on some muscle. But I do not because I will though. Starting, I'm moving to Boston tomorrow. So,
oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
May I ask, have you ever, like, had spiritual experiences where, like, maybe you have, there's things that you just can't explain, like maybe see I don't know, a vision of a God or communicate with a God or a spirit of some sort, or I'm just curious.
I have not had any, I would say, like, explicit experiences like that where I've seen something that I cannot explain, but I will say I have felt, I don't know, that might be a function of my upbringing as well, but I've never eaten meat of any kind. And I just, it's people are like, dude, how do you do that? Don't you get, I have like zero time. In fact, if anything I see like steak or something, I'm like, I should really stay away from it.
Yeah, I think if your body is not used to it.
Yeah. So that's one. The other thing is, I had an out-of-body experience once. That was nothing to do with religion. It was me training myself to lucid dream.
To do what?
Lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's basically you being conscious when you're dreaming.
Okay.
And you can train yourself to do that. So I had what is known as a false awakening, which is basically, I mean, there are many methods. What I used was, what you do is you go to sleep, suppose you go to sleep at 10, and you want to set your alarm for like 3 hours or 4 hours into your sleep. That's when you're in your like REM sleep.
Yeah.
That's when you dream. So you wake up at around 2 or 3, switch off the alarm. Now this is the point when you're so sleepy that if you go back, lie down, you'll be asleep in like 2 minutes because you're so sleepy. And you go, but instead of going to sleep, you tell yourself, I'm going to play the piano. I'm going to play C, D, E, F, G. I'm going to play it backwards for 30 seconds. And after 30 seconds, I'm going to just check if I'm still awake.
Provided there's a piano in the...
No, you just lie down with your
okay.
fingers. Yeah. The thing is, it's such a boring activity, and you're so sleepy, you will fall asleep in less than 30 seconds. But you've told yourself, I'm going to check after 30 seconds. So you're counting and you're playing this, and in your dream, you don't process text very well. So if you look at text, you look away, and you look at text again, it'll be jumbled up.
Okay.
Time, you don't process it well. Your brain is like, if you look at the time, it'll be like going weird.
Yeah.
Light switches, there are some things, these are reality checks. So I had written awake on my palm. So after like 20 seconds, I was like, okay, let me check if I'm awake. And I looked at my head awake, and I looked away, and I looked again, it was jumbled up. I was like, all right, I am in a dream.
So you knew you were...
So I had woken up on my bed, and I'm looking at this, and I looked away. But I'm actually still sleeping. This is my astral body. I had woken up in my dream. And then I was like, okay, so I got up from my bed, I started walking through the room, and I was like, okay, I want to phase through this wall. This is my dream, I can do anything I want.
Yeah.
But but I could not. Like I just hit the door. And
Do you think you were sleepwalking, or were you?
No. I was dreaming for sure.
Okay.
I wasn't sleepwalking.
You could look back and see your body.
No, you
Sleeping.
cannot. But you're dreaming, right?
Okay.
You cannot. But yeah,
So,
but
it's,
I
so
was
it's
not.
really not happening. It's just a dream.
It's just a dream. It's just in your head. But you have woken up on your bed and everything. So it's a false awakening. So the idea is, but I was not trained enough. So I got very excited.
Uh-huh.
You need to, once you're in your dream, you need to stabilize it. So you need to go and touch something cold. Feel that coldness, so then it'll stabilize around that. Touch, like, you need to make it more vivid.
Yeah.
Since it was like, this was my first time, and I tried to phase through the wall, and I got kind of excited, and I just woke up.
Now, did you do this because someone told you about it?
No, I was just curious. I was.
Well, it
I was sort
sounds
of,
like it's something you've heard about, right?
No, so I'll tell you why. I was sort of detoxing, if you will. I wasn't smoking any weed. I was not drinking any coffee, and it had been almost a week, and I had noticed my dreams had gotten really vivid. So if you're off any kind of stimulant, you dream really well.
Oh, okay.
Like if you don't drink any coffee, tea, weed, alcohol, nothing, you
Yeah.
just dream a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, it would be a lot of fun if I could control those dreams. Like, what if I wanted to fly a dragon or something,
Yeah.
I can summon it and it's like my own little virtual world. That would be cool. And so then I started looking it up.
So you kind of got a taste of it. Did you keep doing that sort of thing?
So then I did that. So that was the most successful attempt. And after that I tried, but I would only get in and then I would just wake up and then I sort of slipped back into coffee and then tea and all of these things. And
Oh, okay.
kind of got
So it was
messed
something
up.
you have to do when you're.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if you
You
dream a
abstain
lot,
from
some people dream a lot even if they smoke, drink, whatever. So you can
Well,
do it.
I've had dreams where I realized I was dreaming, and then I felt like, yeah, well, let's go with this.
Yeah.
Let's do different things or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I was like self-aware
Yep.
that I am dreaming. But yeah. and so what you're saying is this is a state you can kind of achieve.
Yes, through a lot of different methods. So this is what I used. This is called finger-induced lucid dreaming because you're using your fingers to sort of.
But you don't feel like it's.
Another one is that you set an app. There's an app on your phone. I use an app called Awoken, and what it does is every half an hour or 45 minutes, it'll give you like a reminder, like, hey, do a reality check. A reality check is you, like I said, like looking at some text, looking away, looking at it back again, maybe trying to breathe in with your nose closed. These are things that you cannot do when you're awake. But when you're dreaming, you can do these things.
Okay.
So the idea is that you make a habit out of this. So when you're dreaming, just out of habit, you'll check again, and it'll fail, and you'll be like, okay, I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
So
The purpose is just like for a different experience, would
sure,
you say?
yeah, it's access to your subconscious.
It's not like
so.
trying
What
to-
are dreams? Dreams are basically inside jokes that only your mind knows, and it's like giving them to you. Some of them are like weird, abstract. I get like some weird ass dream. Like I'm in some weird place, and there's some other weird person. It's so like random. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Sometimes you remember them and you forget most of them after you wake up.
Yeah.
So it's recommended that you actually maintain a dream journal. So right after you wake up, just jot down whatever happened.
Yeah.
But so they're essentially your subconscious trying to tell you these things, and they're like abstract things that only the deepest part of you knows,
Yeah.
like what they mean. So lucid dreaming is a way for you to access that subconscious part of your mind.
Now, do you feel like you can access different lives that you've had as a,
My
as a
past
Hindu?
lives?
Yeah.
So there are people.
I mean, is that the?
No,
That's
so
not the purpose
it's
or
not,
anything?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. It doesn't like. So usually, the soul is eternal. The soul never dies, right?
Now,
So,
would you say you remember any past? Like
No,
you've had past lives.
course.
That's your belief,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Probably many.
many,
Yeah.
multiple. But
Yeah.
no, I do not remember because the I is not the soul. Yajas is just a manifestation on this earth for this life.
Yeah.
Maybe before this I was a camel. Maybe before that I was a tree. It's the vessel keeps changing.
Right.
The only soul.
So I guess my question is like, if your consciousness goes to the next life, right?
Not your consciousness, your soul.
Your soul.
Yeah.
If there's no memories, if
Right.
there's no recollection of what who you were,
Right.
then you take on a new identity, and are you really you? You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like it's
so
like
I'll
the
tell you what. So
energy.
it's like the soul will set you up, depending on your karma. The soul will set you up to be closer to God. So, for example, if my karma was like I was almost there, like I've done my past lives, my aggregation of karma is such that I'm almost about to be free. My next life, I'll probably be born as in like a family of ascetics, of monks that
Yeah.
like from 4 years old, that we are just going and just meditating and free from these things, and then boom, next life I'm gone. And then there are also souls that are liberated. They have the opportunity to come back and teach others. So they already know they're liberated, but they've come back to earth and they're like, you know what, man, these guys are suffering and all these problems. Let me try to help them.
Yeah.
So all great like teachers, Buddha, Jesus Christ, Muhammad. I would think anyone that's had the other thing is knowledge, spiritual knowledge specifically, is given based on time, place, circumstance. So the analogy that is given is you cannot teach a kid that's in 4th grade, 12th grade math.
Right.
He will not get it because he's in 4th grade. He needs to get to 12th grade to understand 12th grade.
Yeah.
So similarly, humans, depending also like a person in India is going to need a different language. A person in the US is going to need a different language to teach math, for example.
Yeah.
So similarly, spiritual knowledge is passed on to the people depending on the time, the place, and the situation of those people.
Yeah.
What can get them to the next level? What can get them to the next level? And so on and on and on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like so karma is like kind of judgmental,
No, karma is just your action,
right?
the way you live your life.
But there has to be a decision made at some level somewhere, as
There
far
is.
as like, are you going to go up, down?
Yeah,
are you,
there is.
You know,
And it's-
and so
it's
that
all-
would be.
yeah.
Would you say that would be God's?
No, it's
God's
it's
decision,
it's
or-
yeah. I mean, you could say God in a way. But I mean, the Hindu scriptures have like the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, Puran. Many of them, all of them have like overlying sort of recommendations on what is good and what is bad, right?
Yeah.
So, like for example, obviously things like you living a simple life, not causing harm to people, trying to progress yourself, grow spiritually and mentally.
Yeah.
You're going to be, that's all good things.
Yeah.
So you're going to be progressing forward. You indulging in debauchery, killing, murders, those are bad things. They're going to bring you backwards. So now, but it's not as simple as you just decide to be like, yo, I'm going to just be awesome from today.
Right.
So how do you be awesome? You need to follow a certain lifestyle to be awesome. So there is like food, for example. So the food comes in 3 forms. So each person is made up of 3 kinds of energy. There's the mode of goodness, there's the mode of passion, and there's the mode of ignorance. And each person is a combination of different amounts of one of these energies.
Yeah.
Food directly contributes to your energy levels for each kind. So sattvic bhojan, which is food that is in the mode of goodness, that is simple food that is meant for sustenance. That is not spicy, it's just food that will make sure that you live,
Yeah.
causing the least harm to the environment. And it's not for taste, it's like boiled vegetables, maybe light salt. That's the best kind of food. That'll promote mode of goodness.
Okay.
Mode of passion is when you want to eat food that's tasty, it's spicy, loaded with like all these, you just want to
You eat food for the food's sake.
for
not
the food's sake, yeah, and you're doing, and it's in the mode of passion. It's not really bad. Like sometimes you need to have that energy. Maybe you're like an entrepreneur. You need to be like high energy, and so you need to eat food that kind of inculcates those energies.
Yeah.
Mode of ignorance is when you're eating food that's coming from a place of suffering. When you have like everything about that food is caused suffering, and all that chain of suffering, you're consuming that energy. So then you're increasing that proportion.
Yeah.
So the idea is to balance and make sure your mode of goodness remains on the top. So that way, and then once that changes, you'll change a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then it's like domino effect. So once you change one portion of your life, that will affect the other portion, that will affect the other portion, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah. And in your view, or in I guess the Hindu view or your view, God is like a personal being or
God is
impersonal?
personal and impersonal.
Right.
God does not want you to worship Him or do anything that is coming out of fear or like some kind of anger or anything of that. So God, if He wants you to like it should be genuine. And the only way it can be genuine is if He can have a personal connection with you, not a generic one-size-fits-all connection, because that's not possible. Each human is different.
Yeah.
So that's why He has 10,000 million manifestations.
Nice.
And the deity that you connect with the most, and it also doesn't matter if you worship the one God, so to say. The servant of the servant of the servant, dasanu dasanu dasu. The servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. If you worship Him, that's also fine. It's like
So that's where the whole idea of millions of gods comes from.
exactly. It's like
Is it based on the millions of people?
Sure. It's
Or
based
but
on
one god could like connect with
there are
many
different
different
schools
people?
of thought, right? So there's the Advait, the school of thought that's like purely based on the Vedas, the Vedic philosophy, and they say that we are going to be only be worshipping like the one energy, Om, the universe, the sound of the universe, and things like that. Then there's the Puranic school of thoughts, which is more like personalized. Each person, each region has their own deity, but they all sort of congregate together because the idea is that
They're all manifestations of the
they're all
sun.
even the person that even if you were, for example, genuinely believing in God and someone just started worshiping you, for example, right? But you were like in your heart, you were true, like you were not
Right.
even in your actions.
Like you're not going to take the worship and
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that it's all
So
me.
as long as it's fine,
I see.
that's okay. Because it's like if you have a boss and he has a secretary,
Right.
and if the secretary really likes you, he can put in a good word to the boss and be like, yo, this guy's really good.
Right.
And the boss is going to listen to it. He's like, okay, yeah, you know what,
Right.
I trust you, so it's
I
cool.
got connections.
Yeah, I got connections, so it's fine. And yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you? It sounds like you're really like much more knowledgeable about your own faith than a lot of Hindu people I've talked to.
Yeah, that's very true.
Why is that?
I don't know, I feel like
Your parents
modern...
taught you all this, or have you studied on your own?
No, my parents are not. I'm curious myself, like just not about religion, about things in general, about the spirituality, about abstract things, and I tend to like research them, and then I read the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the books. It's like a dialogue between Krishna and Arjun. I fell in love with that book. I was like, wow, that is such. So the context of the Bhagavad Gita is essentially what's happening is there's a war happening. There's a guy, Arjun, he's a prince, and he's on the battlefield, and he has his bow drawn up, and he's about to fire it, but he realizes that on the other side it's his teachers, it's his like other people that he knows, and he gets cold feet. And he's like, man, I cannot kill these guys. This is like, I know these people. These are my like people that I've worked with, cousins. I cannot do it.
Yeah.
And his charioteer is Krishna, who's God, but he doesn't know that. So he sort of gets in this dialogue with Krishna about like, dude, I cannot do this. And they have this conversation about like, why...
Is Krishna trying to persuade him to do it?
Krishna is trying to persuade him because Krishna says, that is your duty, my son. You know,
Oh,
this
okay.
is not...
You're in the warrior class.
Yeah, you are right now, it's required for you to kill these people because you're in a war and you're fighting for their side, and if you don't, they'll kill you. They are not going to feel the same way.
Yeah.
And then he's still like doubtful, and then sort of Krishna shows him his form, the godly form, and he says, it doesn't matter if you kill them or not, I'm time. I will kill them. So don't think you're killing them.
Oh.
I am killing them. You
Yeah.
are just an instrument. This is all like a play, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then other questions about how to live life, what is the nature of the universe, things like that. Very well written.
Is Krishna like the god that you relate to the most, or is there a different one?
I worship Krishna too. I like him a lot. He's sort of the more, he's very vibrant personality. Krishna has. He's like this. He's a very good friend in the Mahabharata. He's a really good friend of Arjun. He grows up and he flirts with like some of the village girls. Everyone loves him. He's like a very personable personality. I also worship Hanuman, who is like, who's not actually God, he's a devotee of God. And he was like such a great devotee of God, and one of the stories they say like he's in the court, and God asks him like, do you really like me? Like, what's going on? You've been following me around for so long. And Hanuman tears his chest open, and he's like, check this out. He tears his chest open, and inside it's like inside where his heart is supposed to be. It's like an image of God.
Okay.
So he's like, oh man, all right, this guy is legit.
So your connection to them is it kind of like
It's deities that I relate to.
right? That's
can,
what I'm asking is like is it that they're kind of like a role model for you?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're people. They're not. For me to be able to worship someone, you cannot just tell me like, for example, in Islam, it's this very almost scary version of God where Allah has said this. Don't do this, you will burn in the deepest fires of hell. There's no information given about Allah. Like, what is he a cool guy? Like, could I hang out with him? Like, what? Like, if all your thing is coming from, if you don't do this, you're going to be screwed. And if you do this, I promise you will make your life good. That sounds like a company. It sounds like a corporation. I need
A company, okay.
Yeah, like I need to be swayed by my own mind
Yeah.
to be like, okay, you know what, man, I love this. Like, I can go, the thing is, I feel connected.
Yeah.
Like, it's like someone, it's like a friend.
Yeah.
You know? So, I'm like, okay, these are deities that I relate to.
Yeah.
Because they have personality. They're fun, they've done things. Yeah.
Do you have Christian friends, or have you checked
Oh, yeah.
out Christianity?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
what's your impression
plenty.
of Christianity?
I think,
That's kind of like the Islam.
right.
But what
I
about-
feel like Christianity is a little bit mellower than Islam. A little bit. At least.
Or it
from
can
what
be.
Or it can be. At least I feel like, I don't know if that's a function of recent times, like over the last 100, 200 years, if Christianity has gone through some sort of revivalism or something like that, which has made it mellow. But as of today, I feel like it's very... a lot more sort of a mellower, at least the followers are. And but again, Christianity, it's like that. The problem is it's with the Abrahamic faith. It's like we have one path. If you don't do that, you're going to hell. And I'm like, but that makes no sense. Like this coffee shop, you can get to it from that door. You can get to it from that door. You could drop from the sky and still get here.
Right.
You can get to the same place with many different directions. So when someone says like we have this proprietary method of you achieving whatever, I'm like, man, that's
Yeah,
just
it is
not
very
true.
exclusive.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian. I know, like
Yeah.
like one way to God,
In many Hindu
that's-
temples in India, in the South India, there's a lot of Christians, a lot of Catholics, and so in many Hindu temples, they keep Jesus Christ there because Hindus have
He
no
would be another
problem. Yeah, he's
deity or
he's
another-
an enlightened being. You worship him, that's good. He's probably a cool guy.
Right.
So he's like the secretary, you know?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Although the impression of that Jesus would be a Jesus who would say, "I'm just one of many," and the Jesus of the Bible doesn't say that.
Right.
He says,
right.
"I am the one." You know.
So I mean, and that again, you cannot, like I said, right? Time, place, circumstance.
yeah.
Maybe at the time Jesus came to those people, that is what needed to be done. He cannot be like giving abstract spiritual knowledge about, like, hey, you know, let's talk about outer dimensions. And people needed that.
Yeah.
So he came and he provided that. So Buddha, for example, was a Brahmin. He was a Hindu Brahmin born in a Brahmin family. And there were all these like intricate rituals happening and all of this. And he just didn't get it. He was like, what is going on? Like, you know, there are all these very intricate prayers, rituals happening, but I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
And so he left his home. He said, you know what, man, I'm going to figure it out myself. There's a tradition of renunciation. After you're a certain age, to seek answers, you just go away.
Yeah.
And you try to find answers for yourself. And he meditated for years and years and years. And he realized something. So he came to people. What had happened at that point in India was people had bastardized the books to sort of only very superficially. So they were doing all the rituals, but they had lost touch of what the meaning behind it was. So Buddha came and he reset everything. He said, you know what? Forget everything. Forget the Vedas, forget all the books, forget everything. Find yourself first. Just meditate and look in you.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
People were like, wow, this is not complex, this is simple, this is good,
Yeah.
but that's what was needed for that time.
Yeah.
So it's all of it is like I said, it's a play going on. Different times, different things happen.
I'm sure from your interest in spiritual things and
Yeah.
conversations with friends and things like that, you've heard the Christian gospel as far as like when I say gospel, I mean maybe like a nutshell version of it, or like a
Yeah, he
summary.
died for the sins, and like he died for
Yeah.
our sins, and now like you need to accept that. And
Hey, what do you think of that?
I mean, I appreciate him dying for my sins, but I'm not going to just sign up for like this proprietary thing because someone told me so. You know, if I
Yeah.
was born, so the other thing is, spiritual information can be corrupted very easily.
It can be what?
Corrupted very easily.
Uh-huh.
So the analogy that is given is, imagine there's a row of 8 people, and people are passing the first
Like
person.
the telephone game.
Person is passing a cup of milk from the first person to the last person. The fourth person decides to add some shit, right? Now everyone from the fourth until the 8th, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're screwed. Like
Yeah.
that entire area is done for.
Yeah.
So that's why it is essential that you're able to, whenever someone claims to give you spiritual knowledge, you should be able to verify where he has got his information from.
Right.
So lineage, guru. That's why if you want to advance spiritually, you need a guru. It is imperative. You cannot do it without a guru.
Yeah.
And that guru needs to have a guru. And that guru needs to have a guru. You should be able to trace like, oh, this guy learned it from him, he learned it from him, he learned it from him, and he learned it from God.
Yeah.
Or from one verified source.
How is that different from the Christian version of getting truth? You know, like as far as like the gurus,
Right.
how do you know that someone didn't corrupt the message along the line?
I mean, so it's like King James Bible, right? Who wrote that?
Well, you know the Bible's like a library, right?
The version that people read, for example. So like,
Yeah.
let's talk about one specific King James. Is
It
that
would
the
have to
most?
be a certain book of the Bible.
So what is it? King James is not the full Bible itself?
Yeah, King James is a translation of
Okay.
the Bible from the original.
Okay, so that's a translation.
Yeah,
Who translated that?
into English.
Yeah.
King James hired a whole lot of
So King James was a king, and he hired a bunch of translators. So right there you have a point of failure. You have one king that himself, he was not the one that was giving this information. He just hired a bunch group of guys, said, hey, can
Well,
you translate this?
we can go back to the
Okay, let's remove the translation. Let's look at what's the original language. It's in Hebrew?
Hebrew and
Latin.
Greek,
Hebrew and Greek.
a little
So
bit of Aramaic.
that
Yeah.
his information he got from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. He got his information from Gaura Kishora.
Right.
He got it from Bhakti Vinoda. He got it from Jagannath, Vishwanath, Narottama.
But how do you know that?
All the way from Krishna.
Yeah. How do you know that anyone along the way didn't corrupt it?
Because these are verifiable sources, like through history, for example. Like if I know that, like I know, for example, Vishwanath, he existed in history. I have records of him existing here. People know him. So yeah. So that, and
But I'm still saying, like, okay, they existed in history, but how do you know that they didn't change it? For example, you know that in Hinduism, they didn't always believe in reincarnation. It was when Buddhism came into history,
that is not true.
and all of a sudden, about halfway through its history,
God, that is not
they
true
started
at all.
teaching reincarnation.
no, not at
Not
all.
true?
Not true at all. Right? So Buddhism came about. So Hindu philosophy is based on the Vedic religion, Vedas, which were written down in 2000 BC, well before Buddha.
Right.
2000 years before Buddha.
Right.
Concept of reincarnation and all of this comes from the Vedas. And the Vedas, they were written down in the 2000 BC. Before that, they were transferred orally.
Maybe I'm wrong. So let's look up reincarnation in Hinduism, history of reincarnation.
Sure.
Because I've been telling people the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, it's reincarnation.
My
and
understanding was
karma.
that they began to teach reincarnation when Hinduism was competing with Buddhism,
No.
as it was the two different religions in India.
Origins of the notions.
Yeah, dude, it has early roots in the Vedic period.
Yep. There you go. Predating the Buddha, which is the Buddhism, and Mahavir, which is Jainism.
Thank you very much, Ron. I will.
And also, these things they're much more extant and older than like 1500 BC because before that they were transferred orally. They were only written down this time. Because they're all written in Sanskrit, and the quality of Sanskrit is that it's a poetic language. So each shlok is like a song, so it's easy to remember. If you learn it, you remember it. All of Eastern sort of systems, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, they all take root from the Vedic period. That's the sort of the root.
Do you think those the things that the texts, actually happened? As far as like this conversation with Krishna and all of that, are these like historical?
Yeah, those are pretty of course, yeah.
Or are they just myths, legends?
I want to believe that they have, because I'll tell you why.
I guess what I'm wondering is, does it matter? Because it could be that they just were stories.
My rationale behind why I think they happen, right? It's because we are in 2018 now. Before that, we have like 3000 BC maybe. That's the earliest records as humans that we have of things are 3000 BC. Nothing before that. This is like pushing it, right? So we have knowledge, like some written evidence of 5,000 years from now.
Yeah.
We know dinosaurs existed 100 million years ago. So 100 million years ago and 5,000 years ago, that's a giant chasm of time that it's like a black box. No one knows anything. Okay, we say like, oh, we found some bones and like some fossils, but there's no like systematic information that has been recorded that has been kept. Things happened during that time. It wasn't like it was just like a black box, nothing happened. And those are things. So in Hinduism, each epoch lasts 132,000 years. And after every fourth epoch, you reset back to epoch 1.
Yeah.
Epoch 1, epoch 2, epoch 3, epoch 4. At the end of epoch 4, you destruct, universe destructs, reset back to epoch 1. Epoch 1, epoch 2, epoch 3, cycle.
Yeah.
So it's cyclic. And we're in epoch 4 right now. And when Krishna spoke, that was epoch 2. So that was approximately like 700,000, 800,000 years ago.
Oh, okay. So I mean, the texts were written long after it happened.
Yeah, long after, because initially the tradition was they were passed on orally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like as far as like differences between Hinduism and Christianity.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Christian, just to let you know, like I would love for everybody to be a Christian. And the reason for that is because, according to Christianity, like you say, if when we don't receive Christ, when we don't have that Savior, we are, dead in our sins. And so it's like it's very hard to not want want to convince people, even though I know I really believe it's God that does the convincing.
Right.
So I don't worry too much about it, but at the same time, as a Christian, it's important to share my Christian faith for that reason,
What would you tell the Muslims who believe the same thing? That they have the last word of God, the most updated version of the same, and I think
it's not a matter of the last word, because there's other religions that have come along since then, like if you're familiar with the Mormon Church and Jehovah's Witnesses,
exactly.
and now
So
there's
it's like
Scientology.
So if everyone claims to be this proprietary thing, and that dude, this is our thing, how do you know which one it is? That's why I think it's fundamentally when any sect claims that, hey, our version is correct.
Yeah.
I'm inherently how can that possibly be? What happens to 90% of the world then if your version is correct? Are they all wrong?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you would see that the same standards that you apply towards, for example, your sacred scriptures need, like the same the same criticisms that you might have towards, for example, the Bible. You need to use that standard towards your text. And so we're talking about several 100,000 years of passing it on orally.
Right, no, so that's what I'm saying, but the sacred scriptures in Hinduism and in Buddhism are not saying anything like this is proprietary information. They are saying...
When you say proprietary, you use that a lot. You mean like
Like this is the only,
the
this
only,
is the
okay.
exclusive way for
exclusive
you
or
to.
something?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Hindu, Buddhist, Sikh, Jain scriptures are not saying that this is the way to
Yeah.
do this, or like
The
this
way
is the
in
only way. In fact,
Christianity we would say it's kind of like math. You know, like there's a 1 + 1 = 2.
in fact,
So there's a lot of different answers that could be wrong.
a lot of schools of thought in Hinduism are literally based on logic and reasoning. On if you can reason me out of my belief logically, I'm bound. I have to concede your point.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of schools of thought. A lot of scriptures have been written by rishis, by sages, having an argument in public spaces, kind of like the Greek system, a little bit much older though. And you have reasons. For example, this is the Gnostic school of thought, which means you can believe that you, an atheist or unbeliever, that none of this exists, is all bullshit, and that's a valid school of thought. You can completely believe in that, and that's no heresy or anything. It's completely fine.
What
Within like sort of the Hinduism,
Oh.
so Hinduism itself, the word is actually there's no.
what would the Hindus believe about Christianity? Do you feel like we're
No,
as
they-
Christians?
Yeah, we
are
believe
exclusionary.
that it's maybe it's a one method of increasing your consciousness. It's and yeah, it's good if it works.
Because
good for you.
one of the problems is, so Jesus taught that he himself was the way to God, right?
Right.
So we have 3 options. Either he's lying, which to us
Yeah.
it would be like, okay, well then he's not worth following,
Right.
or he's crazy
Right.
and thinks he's the way to God, but he's
Right.
not,
No. There's a third one too, though.
or he's really telling the truth that,
Then
that he
there's
really is God in the
There's a
flesh,
fourth one too.
that he exists in a certain time and space.
Yeah,
but
that for
but
that
he's,
moment of time, that was correct. That was the information, and that was what those people needed, and that's what and that's good. If that
Yeah.
works, that's what needs to be
the
done.
one thing that makes so like I get in these conversations with a lot of different people, right? So Hindus and Buddhists,
Yeah.
and atheists, and I notice one thing that everybody has in common, like
Yeah.
universally,
Right.
even atheists, it doesn't matter,
Yeah.
and that is that we all have a moral conscience,
Right.
right? We all have a sense of right and wrong.
Right.
And so so the problem is we know right from wrong, but we don't follow it, or we haven't historically followed it. We know that, for example, I can give you a little good person test, right?
Right.
So how many lies have you told in your life? Like how many times
God.
have you said something that's not true?
I don't know, many times. Would be
Now you know it's wrong to lie, right?
it is. It is
Okay.
wrong. Very much.
You seem like a nice person. Maybe you haven't stolen anything,
No,
like taken
no.
something that
Nope.
didn't belong to you,
Yeah.
downloaded something from the internet that's not yours.
No, I've done that a lot. I do find it
Okay.
all the time.
So you know that you shouldn't do that, right? So you.
I mean, that I do not. I think piracy. I'm an engineer, but yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with some. So piracy is defined as if there's a cycle, the bicycle, right? And someone steals that bicycle,
Yeah.
and the bicycle's gone. That's not good.
Oh.
But imagine there's a bicycle, and someone makes a copy of that bicycle, and that bicycle is still there. And I take that copy of that bicycle. There's nothing wrong
So
with
you're
that.
deciding that they don't have a right to sell their
I'm
their
deciding. I'm
information.
saying no. I mean, no. I'm saying if you're selling if your software or whatever you're making and you're selling it for a certain price, and someone is smart enough to reverse engineer it, and now it's his. You should have made it impossible. If you did not want it done, it should have been impossible to do. But
What-
you release it in the public, and someone
I mean-
reverse engineers it.
You've thought this through, obviously. I mean, it's kind of like in Chicago. I'm not from Chicago.
Yeah.
When I moved into Chicago, I learned some hard lessons. And some of those hard lessons were, if you leave something unattended, that's like telling the world, I don't care for it, I don't want it, you can have it.
That is true. To an extent.
Where I'm from,
Yeah.
if you leave something unattended, it's still yours. and no one has the right to take it, even though it's sitting there in plain sight.
And that again that's a function of where you are, right? Like if
Yeah,
you're in,
well,
like in
I
the
guess what
Vatican, in the church, no one will steal anything. But if you're in Chicago and you're
Right.
like downtown,
I guess what I'm saying is we come up with excuses
Sure,
that make it okay.
yeah, of course.
And so it's like
Rational.
you've thought through
Yeah,
your
of course,
excuses.
very much. And I am very self-aware of that. I am,
You know.
I'm pretty, a lot of times I have done things that I would consider the word hedonistic.
Okay.
Yeah? Like just to maximize my pleasure
Yeah.
and like minimize my suffering. Right?
Okay.
And I've done that and I've been conscious of it. And,
So like
and
Jesus.
I am striving to not do it, but that's what it
So
is.
in Christianity and Judaism, and I'm pretty sure Islam
Yeah.
follows the Ten Commandments. You've heard of the Ten Commandments, right?
Yep.
So Jesus came along and he preached this sermon called the Sermon on the Mount, where he was expounding on the Ten Commandments.
Right.
And he was even showing us how impossible they are to follow, but yet saying this is the ideal, this is the standard by which we'll be judged, right? And so one of the standards is you shall not commit adultery, which is sex outside of marriage, right? But then Jesus expounded on it, and he said even if you look at someone in order to have lustful thoughts,
Yeah.
you're committing adultery in your heart.
Right.
Something you'd be guilty of.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Plenty of time.
And then he talked about murder. He said it's wrong to commit murder, but then he said even if you are angry at your brother, and I think he meant anybody, and you
See,
call
here's
him
the thing with
you
these
call
Ten
him
Commandments.
Uh-huh.
You're setting humans up for failure.
well, that's
You're doing all
Yeah.
these things. You're like, dude, do this. It's like, Kevin, you're putting this chocolate right here, and I haven't had any food. And you're like, dude, you're not eating chocolate. And I'm
well,
like, God, man.
we can judge the judge. You know,
Right.
like if we're in a courtroom, we can say, well, judge, your rules aren't fair.
Wouldn't it make more sense to, instead of prescribing this, more like, hey, explaining like this is not good, you should not do this, but if you do, try to fix yourself.
Well, and that kind of gets back to the original commandment, which was don't eat from this tree, right?
Right.
Now, God may have had all sorts of reasons
It's-
that they
yeah.
shouldn't have eaten that
Yeah,
fruit,
yeah.
right? But the ultimate thing that was
And
wrong with
that,
it,
I've heard that story too, the Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah.
The apple,
Mhm.
that itself, I just cannot wrap my, why
yeah,
would
you're
God,
not the only one. You're not the only one.
why would this supreme, omnipotent being make these humans, and like, what is it, like an ego trip? Like, don't eat that apple, like, what? Why? Like,
Yeah.
why would you even,
Now-
like, the whole story is so absurd.
I love that you put it like an ego trip. Right?
Yeah.
So now, so like maybe within my impression of, well, I don't want to. My impression of some of the gods that I've heard about in Hinduism, other gods maybe like in Greek mythology,
Yeah.
is that they kind of fight amongst themselves. They're kind of like humans.
Different manifestations, yes,
Okay.
very much.
So the problem with thinking that God, like who is God to give us that rule, right? Who does he think he is? God? You
Yeah.
know, it's like, but that's the point. He is God. And so he gives Adam and Eve this rule, and he doesn't tell them why they shouldn't.
That
shouldn't
sounds
follow.
like
He actually did. He said, if you eat it, you will die. Right?
Right.
But
Why
but
would
the
you
point
place
is,
it there then?
yeah.
Why
So the
would you
point
do the
is,
whole thing?
it's teach. Like what was so bad about eating from it? Because God said don't do it. And so what he's teaching is,
Yeah.
I'm God and you're not. And so within
Wow, that
within
doesn't that
Hinduism,
sound so narcissistic though?
it
That is like,
it is.
I'm going to show you your place.
Yeah.
That's like, what?
But it's totally so like, and I can understand how like
Yeah.
from a Hindu background you wouldn't understand that because it's like to say I'm God and you're not. Well, in Hinduism it's like I'm God and you are too.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
in
and that's the
Hinduism, in
difference.
fact, God is the most humble. Humility is the greatest virtue. That's why Krishna was his charioteer. That's like he wasn't his like warrior, his general, like he was his charioteer,
Yeah.
his taxi driver. And
Do you know the whole point of Christianity, like the way to understand the Bible? There's a couple key things. One is that God is God and we are not, and God's purpose in all of history and all through the Bible is that He will be glorified.
Wow.
Now,
Yeah,
and I get it.
Yeah,
I get it that you're like having a hard time to relate to that. So like,
Islam is like that too.
I'll
They
bring
have
out
the same thing.
I'll bring out something in Christianity that you haven't heard,
Yeah.
but there's many times, many references in the Bible where God says, "I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God." Okay? So He's jealous of us ignoring Him or worshiping anything else that is not God.
Right.
Now, because I've had this conversation with atheists before, is that it's like, how petty can God be?
Exactly.
Right?
Wow, that's like an overly attached girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know?
So the problem with God being jealous is like if you, what'd you just say? Like
Overly attached girlfriend.
Right, exactly. So it's like God is, it's like portraying God like he's some like whiny guy who's nervous and insecure in himself. And so when we hear that God says, "I'm jealous," if we compare God to a person, see the problem with a person being jealous, with like a man being jealous, is he's basically saying, well, you should pay all of your attention to me, and I get, there should be nothing else to compete with me, right? It's kind of like he's acting like he's God, right? But the thing about God being jealous is that He really is God, and so He made the whole universe to serve Him.
That is so conceited though, my God.
But it's conceited if God is just a person. But if God really is God, like the way we function best.
God be much bigger than these things though.
He
much,
is.
Much bigger.
That's why He's worthy of worship.
I don't know.
It's almost like saying,
to me, that is the fact, it's like respect, right? You come to me, and you're like, respect me. I'm like, okay, sure. And you're like, no, I have this company. I started the startup. It's $100 million. It's huge.
I'm a high school teacher, so
no.
I get this because it's like when my students, it used to be in the day, another generation, that you were respected as a teacher because you're a teacher.
Right.
Now it's like you're respected as a teacher if you can kind of earn that respect. See what I'm saying?
Exactly. And so it's the whole thing of even if it's Elon Musk, for example, right?
Yeah.
He started so many companies. He's like my idol. I really like him. He's super, super cool guy. If he came to me though, and if he told me like, you need to respect me, I'd be like, what? Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
And like I've seen that you created this company, it's all good, but the very fact that you just said that, I'm not going to. Just to spite you.
Yeah.
And in that process of spiting you, I'm actually not respecting you.
Yeah.
So it's like counterproductive. It's like the more you try to smother me in, the more I'm going to be like, leave me the hell alone.
Well, now, I mean, I will say that within Christianity, so we start with this idea that God is God and worthy of our worship, and that He's jealous, because He's God and He deserves. It's like the universe is not right when God is not in the place of God. Like, if God's not in the place of God, then who else is? Maybe our money, maybe our time, maybe ourselves, maybe all these other things can take God's place.
God has
So God is saying that He deserves that place of respect, and by virtue of being the creator, and so this is, again, East-West differences.
Right.
We see ourselves as the creation.
Right.
So it's like, why shouldn't, I didn't bring myself into this world. I didn't create myself. I don't have control over where I'm going when I leave it. Logic tells me that God is worthy of my worship just by virtue of being God.
Right.
And then the Bible says multiple times, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Now I can testify that as a Christian, my relationship with God is not based on fear. Well, maybe it's based on fear, but it doesn't end there. Because the Bible, because of, if God is willing to humble Himself and die on a cross in my place, then it's like, okay, I started with fear of God, but now He won me to Himself through love. See what I'm saying?
I do.
Like He, and Jesus, if you look at the life of Jesus, you're going to look at the most he's the most humble person. Like he's a person that's saying it's all about me. I am worthy to be worshipped, and yet we don't question him because he died for us. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's like how could we? You know, nobody in history could say the things Jesus said and get away with it without us saying that he's like Napoleon or, you know, like full of himself, you know, totally conceited. But Jesus could say those things because he was willing to die and suffer and die. And it's not that he's the one that suffered the most in history, because, you know, there's been some horrible deaths people have had, right? But this is God. If Jesus is indeed God in human form, then he has willingly humbled himself to the point of shedding blood and death
Has happened many
in
times.
our place.
Many times.
You know.
In Hindu cosmology, God has humbled himself 10,000 times.
Yeah.
He was a king, he exiled himself, lived in the forest for many years. He did not
Yeah.
claim to the throne. His wife got kidnapped. Rightfully, like went,
Yeah.
got his life. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
think the
I get that.
Yeah, it's the I
But
think
I-
it's inherently, fundamentally, if you come from a place of, if any group, it's not even religion in general, comes from a place of that I deserve this, or I need
Well, the
this.
group doesn't, but the God does.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's a philosophy, the ideology.
And we don't, you know, the Bible doesn't say it, and we wouldn't say that God needs anything.
And the other thing in evangelism and even in Islam, like conversion is seen as a good thing, right? Like if you, it's like almost like a moral obligation for you as a Christian.
Well,
like,
yeah, what it is, so I, as a Christian, when I became a Christian, I was filled with gratitude. Like,
Okay.
I know, because I came to a point where I realized, man, I have, like I was getting about those, you know, like the commandments, like I know I've broken every one of those. I'd be the first to say,
Yeah.
man, I am a sinner, I don't
Yeah.
deserve to be, and I knew, I did these things knowingly because I have a conscience,
Yeah.
right? God gave me a conscience. I purposely rebelled against my God, and I deserve hell, you know? But yet God took my place, took my punishment for me. And so what it creates in us as Christians is this desire to want to live for him and serve him, not out of obligation or fear, but out of love. Because he died for me. How can I give my life for him, you know? So it's a love relationship. And Jesus was constantly saying, you know, like refer to God as your heavenly Father. You know, like what father doesn't, you know, sacrifice for his children? And
yeah, but yeah, I mean that whole thing is, I don't know.
but I can see how it'd be like,
it's very off-putting.
yeah, that's the whole thing
Even
with,
to one of my cousins, she was dating this Muslim guy, dating for a long time, almost 4 years, and then, you know, they're like, oh, we should get married. And the guy's like, yeah, but you need to convert. And she converted. And I was like, what the
from
fuck?
what, Hinduism?
Yeah. She's from Hinduism. And I was like, wow, dude. Like, why would you do that? And she was obviously in love. And she said, it's all, I just, like, I have no issues with it. But
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I don't have an issue with you if you would do it out of your will, or like if you found some reasoning to be like, oh, Islam is just the superior thing. But yeah, it's like, it's a duty for that guy. It's like +1 for him. He
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to
yeah.
increase his, like, and I said, that is so fucked up, and that comes from like that. It's prescribed that that's a good thing. Go do it.
Yeah,
From these like
to
non
the point where they're willing to do it with a sword in certain
from
circumstances.
like, it's like you're the scum of the earth, you're a non-believer, come to our side. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow, and you're talking about spirituality, that's the exact 360-degree opposite
Yeah.
of spirituality.
To
Hinduism
me, it
doesn't
it's-
have a concept of conversion, by the way. There is no prayer or rituals or anything to convert. There's nothing. It's more like if you want to be a Hindu, you just live life. Just don't do bad things. You know, try to increase your consciousness. That's it. There's no incentive to convert.
See, the
There's
thing
nothing.
so I would place all religions and philosophies outside of Christianity, and I'm talking about biblical Christianity, because you know there's a lot of people that are born into a religion that don't even know what they believe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like any religion,
Yeah.
so Christianity included. So I meet a lot of Christians in these conversations who don't know. I ask them, well, what is the gospel? They don't even know.
Yeah.
And the most common thing they say is, well, you have to be a good person and someday you'll go to heaven.
Yeah.
And so all of the religions other than biblical Christianity teach that you can somehow be good enough for whatever concept of afterlife, like an improvement in the afterlife, whether it's heaven or higher reincarnation or whatever. The problem with that is, and I'm pretty sure you would agree with this, the good we do, we ought to do.
Right.
I mean, it's just, it's like,
No, you don't have to do it. That's the thing. I
okay,
mean,
so in
you can be
Christianity,
big.
oh,
Like Hitler, for example, right? He
Right.
killed all these people.
yeah,
I mean, he did
so,
it.
so in Christianity, it's like, I can't use the good things I do to pay for the bad things I've done. And the reason I can't is because I should do them anyway, regardless. God gave me my health and my energy and time, my very life. I should serve God with those. That's what's expected of me. I'm just being a human being. I'm not being a good human, I'm being a human, you know? So I can't use what I ought to do to pay for the things I ought not to
That's
do.
poor design, though. If that's what you were designed to do, what you're given this brain that allows you to question
Well, I'm
it
just
and
saying
not
that
do it.
that is what we're designed to do. So we're designed to do good, right?
Not really. We're designed to do whatever you want. That's why
Oh,
we have
if you're-
serial
if you're
killers.
your own God.
That's why we have like rapists. We have all kinds of bad people because
Right.
you're designed to do whatever you want. It depends
Well, yeah,
on what
given,
path you take, like your upbringing and like your situation and your family. That leads you to become who you are. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with God or with
Yeah.
religion or with
I guess
anything.
I'm talking about, then the Christian idea of that is
Even Christian idea. I mean, a Christian that was born, but he was born in like in a family that was broken and abused, and everyone is doing drugs.
well, we're all handed, dealt a different hand. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
now you.
And so
that-
you
So my rationale behind, so everyone's dealt a different hand. You admitted that, right?
Yeah.
That's why one person is a sweeper and another person is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They were born humans, but one guy has $1 billion and he has $1,
Yeah.
right? That is a function of your past lives. That $1 guy has to expend all that karma. So he's going to live this life. He's moving forward. We are all
Yeah.
moving forward. And maybe the next life he will be in a situation that's a little bit
and so it's
better.
kind of his fault that
It's not
that
his
he's
fault.
there.
No, it's his soul that was. It's like you. It's like an exam, right? So if you get 35 on 100, you need to take remedial classes.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's not like you're never passing the class. You are passing it.
Right.
And Elon Musk is because he flunked 2 in like 100 lives. Maybe he was suffering for like 50 lives. You don't know that. But
Right.
now finally he's at a place where it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit better. So I can wrap my head around that. Like to me,
Did
that's.
you hear about him in the news today?
What did he do?
He says
Tweet something crazy again?
he says he's going to live on Mars.
Jesus, he probably is, man.
He said he's 70% sure he's going to live on Mars.
It's the closest thing we have to an actual Iron Man. I really like
An
that.
actual what?
Iron Man, the superhero.
My cousin used to be his brother's pilot.
Oh,
So, like, because he has a restaurant here in Chicago, so he was the pilot for his private jet.
yeah, yeah.
Hey, I gotta go.
Yeah,
I
same,
appreciate
yeah.
the conversation.
Thank you.
And I've really learned a lot. Like, I feel like you, more than most Hindus I've talked to, have a better grasp of your own beliefs.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I definitely do. I feel like more.
and I feel like I can understand why it's so hard to grasp the Christian concept of
Right,
God
yeah.
from your perspective. So
Yeah.
just remember, that's maybe even like look into it more. Why does God say He's jealous?
Right.
And why should we? Why is fear the thing that leads to wisdom?
Right.
It helps us to understand our place with God. That we're not God.
Right.
You would say yes, we are God. So
Definitely.
I have I usually give people things to read, but
Right.
I want to give you something that talks about Hinduism,
Right.
compares it, basically all the religions. But I want to give you this just because I'd love to hear back from you and see what you think of it, because I've been giving this out to a lot of people. And if it's not depicting Hinduism accurately, I would want to know.
Right.
just like I was saying, like
Yeah.
the thing about
definitely.
reincarnation and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So like it's comparing Christianity to other religions, and so Sikhism, I think Hinduism. Yeah, there's Hinduism.
Shall we?
So you can have that.
Yeah.
And
Two pages. There's only one supreme absolute called Brahman. Okay, however, does not advocate the worship of anybody. Correct. The gods and goddesses in Hinduism amount to thousands, even millions, all representing many aspects of the Brahman. Correct. Therefore, this faith, multiplicity, the most fundamental. Okay, he also worships spirits. Karma, the word karma, action, refers to persons. Okay. It's determined by his performance. Yep. Law of karma is the law of moral consequence. As well as he moves towards liberation, correct? Contrary to one things are you, we were further from liberation, exactly. Is real or samsara? Samsara is the refers to, that is wrong. Samsara
What does it say?
This part. So samsara means the world, the material world, not transmigration or rebirth. This continues consider from the result facts, yeah.
The problem with Hinduism, there's so many different beliefs within it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But so this is trying to just get the general
gist of it. During each successive rebirth, so it's the body and rebirth will lead to a higher form. Yep. Down to lower, since the view of karma applies to both man and animals. Accordingly, all creatures, because of so starting to get the truth is the upper one has to happen when you guys feel it's fun. If the interaction is better than that one, you believe. See you nothingness. Yep.
So it's all.
That's,
So if you compare that to all the different religions,
Yeah.
it's, what I was talking about is like it's Christianity is the only religion that says we cannot earn salvation or a better life to come, or because our good can't pay for our bad.
okay.
So Christianity is the one where God says, no, I'm going to pay that
Right.
on the cross, you know,
Right.
and so I believe that's why I feel like Christianity is very unique, you
Right.
know, in that
But
aspect.
it's not. It's the same. Islam says the same thing.
No, because Islam says you have to go through, you know, like pray 5 times a day. You have to get to the point where you earn this salvation, and even still, it's like then you got to kind of have it in with Muhammad, you know, to speak
Right.
up for you on Judgment Day.
Right.
For me as a Christian, I can say, I deserve hell. I am sorry for what I've done, but I know Jesus.
Like he'll take care of the debt.
Well,
Essentially, it's like
he
your credit
paid-
card. Like he'll pay it off.
Yeah,
He'll pay
and
my
I
debt.
understand. Like, and a lot of people have a hard time with that because
Yeah.
then they say, "Well, then I'll just go out and do all the sin I
Exactly.
want,"
It's
and
like,
that's not when
you take the
when a
check.
person becomes born again as a Christian.
Yeah.
You don't have that feeling. It's like, oh, he paid my debt.
Yeah.
How can I repay? I can't repay him, but how can I show him thanks?
Right.
Right?
Sure.
And so yeah, there are a lot of people who just like say, okay,
Yeah,
I'll,
blank check.
yeah, and that is very true.
Yeah.
Christian, you know, people who would call themselves Christians would say
And
that.
I think that's the whole. I think Jews and Islam, and to an extent Christianity, it's taking responsibility from yourself, putting it on this higher power, prophet, whatever it is. And Eastern religions differ in this sense that they say no, responsibility is on you.
Mhm.
What you do does things, not what someone else did, not what someone else did. People can teach you, people can show you the right way, but that's it.
Well, there is a sense of accountability. So in Christianity, it's more like, what did God say? Not what do I say about God,
Right.
but what did God say about himself? And if he offered himself, then I'm not saying it's God's responsibility, but I have this feeling, this understanding that there's a judgment day. I will be held accountable, you know. But hey, my wife is waiting for supper, so
No problem.
Yes.
Okay. Yajas.
Yajas. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good talking to you. And I'll give you my information where you can see usually I get inspired to write a little bit.
Yeah,
And you've
sure.
given me a lot to think about. So my blog
Okay.
is right there, and it'll take me a few days,
Awesome.
you know. But
Yeah. Cool, man.
Check it out.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah.
all right. Will I run into you again here?
I'm moving to Boston tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But,